But rarely are they as dumb as in our next story.
A low-life hood has been arrested on suspicion of armed robbery of a liquor store in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. The police are determined to save themselves a lot of work by getting this guy to confess up front. They try a little dose of good cop, bad cop. If he just made things simple and confessed, they'd go easy on him. But the criminal's not buying. He won't admit a thing. So they discuss a different tactic, which the criminal can't quite hear, but it's got him a little nervous. Outside the interrogation room, the one detective complains to a colleague that he knows the half-witted suspect is guilty.
We have a situation in there. We've got a perp, we have him dead to rights, but the guy's an idiot, and he just won't talk. We need to just shepherd him in the right direction.
Give him a polygraph.
Polygraph? Do we have a polygraph?
No.
So the colleague suggests they fool the suspect with a little imagination.
You've got to be kidding.
Back in the interrogation room, the thug still refuses to talk. Then he sees one of the police wheel in a strange-looking device.
You must be Frank.
Carefully, with scientific precision, he's hooked up to this bizarre apparatus. He doesn't know what to make of it. In reality, it's just a copy machine with some wires and a colander for straining food. But the dumb criminal doesn't realize this. When everything is in place, he's asked about his whereabouts on the night of the crime.
Okay, Frank. 9 o'clock Friday, the 4th Street liquor store. You were there, weren't you?
No, it wasn't.
He insists he wasn't there. But the truth detector doesn't agree.
He's lying.
Again, he's grilled for the truth.
It's your gun, isn't it, Frank?
And again he lies.
No, it wasn't.
And somehow, the strange machine knows.
He's lying.
Finally, the cops demand that he admit his crime. Shaken by the seemingly omnipotent machine, the crook finally caves in.
I did it! Just get me out of here, and I'll sign that damn.
He confesses, conned into telling the truth by a low-rent police scan. The earliest printed version of this story dates back to the Philadelphia Inquirer in June of 1977. Later versions have it taking place in the town of Radnor, Pennsylvania. Of course, none of this makes it true. But true or not, it's a story with universal appeal.
I think it probably helps us feel a little safer in the notion that criminals are going to get caught and that criminals actually are stupid. The worst thing to think about is some criminal who's never going to be caught because he's smarter than all of us.
The story also has resonance because of the many strange ways that law enforcement has tried to wrest the truth from criminals. In 1951, the Central Intelligence Agency thought it might have found the perfect truth drug in LSD.
Initially, the CIA studied LSD as a truth serum, as a possible truth drug, to get a person to spill the beans. They actually thought this was going to revolutionize the cloak and dagger trade. But it didn't quite work the way they had hoped. It's because of the hallucinations and so forth. The information a person would give during an interrogation was not always reliable. Sometimes a person would get freaked out and they'd clam up. What they found is if they give LSD to a prisoner without forewarning, the person wouldn't know that they've been given a drug. They'd go out of their minds, literally. And the CIA interrogator would tell them that they were going to keep them in this crazy, insane state forever unless they told them what they want to know. That's how they used LSD, with some degree of success.
Another misunderstood method of truth detection is hypnosis, which turns out to be far less effective than most people think.
As long as there's no harm in telling the truth, you'll speak the truth. You will not speak the truth if you think it's going to put you into some form of jeopardy. That's why hypnotizing a criminal to confess, he's going to lie. And you can lie under hypnosis. You can't make anybody do anything under hypnosis unless they want to.
The trick is getting them to want to, and that's done by changing their motivation.
You take war. You have all of these kids throughout the country go to church, clean-cut kids. You go to war. Now, inside of 6 weeks, we make killers out of them. The same kids that went to church. Because why? They have a motivation.
Of course, nothing says motivation like good old medieval torture. In the days when heresy was a death penalty offense, incredible imagination went into obtaining confessions through the ghastly art of physical torment.
Once you get into the situation of torture, the individual who has control over you has absolute control.
Contraptions like the Judas cradle certainly motivated those accused of a crime to talk.
The individual is naked, and they're hoisted into the air, and then they are slowly lowered onto a very sharp stone pyramid. Then they would raise you and drop you on it, drop you on it, drop you on it.
And then there is the infamous rack, which slowly tore the body apart. It would seem the ultimate motivator for telling the truth. But this brutal form of no pain, no gain didn't necessarily work.
Oftentimes, the individual would be in such incredible pain, you would end up with erroneous information. Just anything to get it over with.
Since those dark days, law enforcement has come up with more humane devices for gleaning the truth from suspects. One of the most popular is the polygraph.
I found through about 25 years of polygraph examinations that it is very accurate. And not only is it a lie detector, but it's a truth detector. Your adrenaline and your autonomic nervous system is working overtime just as if you were geared up to run or fight. And your blood pressure will change, your heartbeat will change, your breathing pattern changes, and your perspiration changes. And these are all the areas that the polygraph records on a polygraph chart.
But getting confessions is as much psychology as it is technology, which makes the urban legend almost believable.
A good interrogator knows how to be a good actor and how to be a good psychologist, because he knows that the person he's interviewing is not to his best interest to confess. So some way or other he has to kind of make him believe that either it's to his best interest to confess or that if he lies, it's going to show that he's lying anyhow.
And according to many accounts, fooling the dumb criminal into confessing is exactly what really happened. The legend is said to be true. But the police department in question won't confirm it, perhaps with good reason. So, the story remains mostly true, and the urban legend lives on. In this story, the criminal is fool enough to be duped.